38 feet is a nice package to be able to sail single-handedly. And Bruce King is, I think, one of the most amazing designers in American naval architecture. Hi there, this is Captain Q and my old sailing buddy Randy. Join us as we travel hither and yon as we look for some great deals on classic boats and learn a little with each one.
Little sunbathing?
Oh, Randy, I'm overdressed with a sweater on right now. Look at the sun. I didn't bring my SPF 30 I need. Well, I'm just sitting here with the cat, and we're down in, where are we? We're in Elliott, Maine, aren't we?
Yeah. At
the Kittery Yacht and Marina Boatyard. Today we have an interesting boat, as we always do, it seems. This is an Ericson 38-200. The 200 indicates a second iteration of the Ericson 38. Now, I think there might be some of you out there who have seen Christian Williams. He has a wonderful YouTube channel, and he keeps sailing from Los Angeles to Hawaii. First time he did it was in a Ericson 32, and the second time and the third time in an Ericson 38. And this is what we're going to look at today. This is a 1988 Ericson. This is the second edition, and there have been a couple of changes. Basically the same hull. They remolded the deck a little bit, and they added a couple of cruising features inside the hull. And she was designed by Bruce King. And Bruce King is, I think, one of the most amazing designers in American naval architecture. When he joined Ericson as it was growing up as a company back in the late 60s, I think around 65 or so, and they started up with some weird old molds they found somewhere, and they went bankrupt, and somebody else bought them out, and then they brought a designer in. Eventually around 65, I think it was, that King came along as a designer, and he designed the 32, and the 29, the 35, eventually the 46, which was a really awesome looking race boat. But all his boats have got sort of crispy, sharp lines. They're not unlike the CNC designs, which are very angular in a lot of their features. You want to take a look at this right now?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Come on up here and take a look. This is it right here, and it just looks like a regular, normal sailboat, except pretty bow. She's quite deep here forward. Look how deep this is relative to some of the other newer racing boats. If you look, you can barely see this one next to us, but if you pan up there, look how shallow that is compared to the size of the boat. This is quite deep, and the whole forward section of this is all hollowed out in here.
What do you mean by hollowed out?
Well, I really don't understand why he did it, except Herreshoff did it. So if Herreshoff did it, well, probably a good idea.
Doesn't it kick the bow wake away a little bit?
Well, it will. It's going to throw the wake away when you come up here. It's going to naturally curl your bow wave off and help eliminate some of that drag coming down the hull. It's not a lot of massive tumble home, notice. Very little, in fact, just a nice rounded hull. So he wasn't a slave to the IOR for these boats. Relatively full bilges, so you're going to have room for tankage down here. And the keel, now this keel is a second iteration, and she's a little bit of the new thinking of a longer cruising keel, not so deep, but giving you enough lateral surface again to, make the boat go forward, not sideways. Now we're looking at this bottom. We got a few layers of paint on here that really ought to come off. It's time. Here you can see really where she really needs, it's obvious that the paint needs to, be blasted off. Come on aft here, let's take a look at the rudder. It steers this thing.
I'm not seeing a lot of through hulls along here.
Well, they're here, but they're kind of in weird places. And what we're going to find out, there's two heads on this boat.
Captain Q, that is incorrect.
There's a couple of through hulls up forward, and there's a cluster of them aft on the starboard side. And then we've got a rudder back here. This is our partially balanced rudder. You see, here's the rudder shaft coming down here. So that means when you turn the rudder, there's going to be water pressure against this forward part, which is going to help the helmsman turn the wheel.
Oh, there they are.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
The through hulls.
Well, these are the exit hulls of some sort, and I think they're cockpit drains, engine. I don't know what. Here's your engine exhaust, obviously. Bilge pump probably. I don't know what these are all for, but they're getting pretty dried out, and I think there's time to change them. But it's interesting. They're all above the waterline, so they've tried to eliminate more drag by putting them up here. Waterline is faired out here to a fine point, again, to cut down on turbulence and backflow into the boat, so that you're not sucking along water with you. We've got a real cruising standard, old standard two-bladed prop. There's no zincs on there, and this particular one, I don't know, feels pretty firm in there. The shaft turns, that's always a nice sign. So here we have another flurry of flue hulls. These have all been faired because they're all underwater. Again, Bruce King, and back in this period, they tried to make boats that were really fast because they're competing, and like Ford versus Chevy, Mustang versus Corvette, and that sort of thing. So they would try to make them as quick as possible, and by doing these fairings here, that just helps.
We've got this little little seam action here.
Well,
We've seen that before, right?
we find that all the time, Randy, but you know, this is lead and that's fiberglass up here, okay? And you know, they're not integral, so you're going to get something there showing up. There might be a little bit of patchwork up in here where something maybe hit. Can you see that?
There we go. Oh yeah.
Now that we look a little more closely. So I don't know what's going on here. I'd like to have the surveyor take a look here. There might be something you need to deal with. So what do you say?
Stairway to heaven?
Up we go.
Let's do it.
Follow me. We love the subscribers.
Yeah, more subscribers means that we're going to get recommended to more people, and so that helps spread the love and spread the word about old classic boats and what we're doing, so every little bit helps.
Thanks again. Come on up, buddy. Come on up.
Thanks. A little windy.
This boat needs some attention. We're going to point that out just now. Before, we'd like to have it in the water, but I don't think it's beyond, you know, help. We got the classic King separated cockpit, which I like. It's nice. The helm's back here. He can run all the way around to back here, do whatever he wants. Nobody gets in his way. Your winch grinders are up here on these big old Barians here. That's a Barian 36, 38 or so. Everybody's putting these ladders on the transom of the boat. I don't like them. You know, they're probably fine, but come on, you want to go in the water, you put a nice 3 or 6 rung folding wooden ladder over the side of the boat.
Something with some epiphanes on it?
Yes, with a lot of epiphanes on it. And if you do that, then you got a place to paint your name. Look at this, the name's way over on one side of the boat back here. You see?
Oh, yeah.
Here we got a bracket to mount your outboard on if you got a dinghy. This rig is going to carry a fair-sized dinghy. I'd say at least an 8-foot inflatable maybe. Ventilations down here, just little door aids. Place for your flagstaff here.
What would those be? Those go to the lazarette or what?
What, this just any sort of ventilation into the boat, yeah.
Okay.
If you get air started down in the forward end of a boat through another vent, the air has a tendency to sweep down through the boat and it wants to exit. We've got a life sling over here. We've seen these before. This one's a little tired, and that's probably what, about 360 watts worth of solar power right here. In this section of the seat, we have his garage. And there's a VHF back there, very cleverly set so that if he's single-handing, he wants to talk to somebody on the radio, he can just open this hatch and put a call into them. And on the other side, because we know he's got a propane stove, and he also has a propane gas heater on the bulkhead. In front of me here, I've got his Data Marine. These are older units, I believe, and he's got a depth sounder here, and this is his speed and distance on this side, and they run off a paddle wheel through the hull. 2 levers. You've got your clutch here for your transmission forward and reverse, and of course your fuel. We've got a Raymarine steering mechanism here driven by a motor underneath here. This drives, it's a little geared motor that drives this wheel. Down below, a little bit of knee level, he's got a Garmin, and I kind of like the location of the way he's put that instead of up in front. Everybody likes to put them up right in front of you. Right below my legs here, you see the opening for a
emergency rudder stock?
You got it, right.
Yeah.
Engine controls are down behind a glass down here. This has a universal diesel, got your Raymarine autopilot controls. We have a cockpit well right below you here that's T-shaped and not very big, and it has scuppers that come right down to big 2-inch drains here aft on either side. We have our muscle builder down here you like, the hand bilge pump. I do notice that we have a nice bimini here that's going to fold over.
yeah.
Just want to take a look here at the bridge deck area. This makes it a little tricky sometimes ducking under here and getting through the companionway. But here's something else that's very nice. You're sailing along, you got a cushion under you right here, and you're just wedged right in here. And these seats are long enough to lie down and deep enough. Deep combings. You're also standing on a hatch here, which I'll just take a peek inside for 1 second. Massive, heavy fiberglass piece. But look at the size of that sail locker. It's even got a spinnaker pole in there. What do you say we head forward?
Yeah, let's do it.
We're way up here at the pointy end of the boat, and we've got a very nice big, looks like a Schaefer roller furling unit here. It looks like it's in good shape. It's got one single bow roller with a Bruce hanging off the bow. And it comes back. There's no windlass on this boat. At this size, a windlass would be nice, but it's not necessary. Now, his chain locker is very tidy, but I'd like to see this opened up and aired out. It's quite wet. A couple of cleats up here, nothing spectacular.
Nicely out of the way so you don't stub your toe.
Right, and there's no separate hawse lines or anything. You just come right to the cleat to tie her off. Right now, we've got an extra shroud here. I don't see running backstays. This is just for an extra storm staysail, or storm staysail. When you ordered boats back in the early day, one of the add-ons was, do you want a two-tone deck or not? And, you know, you could save, I don't know, $350 or something if you just had one color everything. But that's a little bright in the daylight to have it white. So this is a nice soft color, and it's got a reasonable grip to it too. I don't know what's going on with the spar, but the owner apparently has replaced a lot of the running rigging here.
Yeah, it looks pretty fresh.
And I like it. It's the good old Backgroun multi-strand version, as opposed to a lot of people are using this Dyneema, which is very strong and much smaller diameters. If you went to something in Dyneema that was as strong, it would be smaller, but this is much easier on the hand. See?
Yeah.
You've got more to grab there. Now everything is led down here to the decks on both sides, so it's a nice easy boat to handle. Nice set of upper shrouds and diagonals.
How do you know how to tension those properly?
Let's say we're on a port tack. You look right up the track on the mast and you see if that looks straight. Let's say you've got a little bend in one direction. Let's say it's between the top spreader and the top of the mast. If you tightened up the diagonal, you would pull that back in, okay? But you wait until, you don't do it while you're sailing on that tack, you tack the boat over. Because once you tack the boat over, all these shrouds, standing rigging, are now loose. So tack it over, tighten it up 2 or 3 turns, and then tack the boat back over again. Look back up your spar, and is the spar straight? Great. If it's not, you do it again. We have a set of lazy jacks we're going to walk by as we head aft. And the lazy jacks are these lines that come down. This is going to catch them. This is not that big a sail. If you're on the PB, you probably want something a little heavier gauge and maybe even have one more set of loops to catch it. What do you say we head below and see what we can find down there?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Okay, Randy, come on down here, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Here we are in the Ericson 38-200. This has the new layout. We have a new deck and cabin trunk on this boat too versus the 38. To your right, on the starboard side of the boat, you'll see a door to a head. Forward, behind this bifold doors here, is the V-berth and a place to go change your clothes and sleep for the night for your friends or kids. Right now I'm backed up to, and it's not on, but a wonderful Force, what is that, a Force 11, Force 1 propane heater. We had one of these on the PB. It really cranks out the heat. You could turn this on the coldest day and this whole boat would be cooking in 15-20 minutes.
How long does the propane last on that?
I bet you get 8 to 10 hours if you just turned it on and let it run. We're in a pretty comfortable settee here. There's no storage behind these. I'm not certain why. There may be tankage in there, but these would have to move and you'd have a nice size sea berth here. And on the other side, it's a very commodious U-shaped settee. And you can't see it, but below the table is the other wing that snaps right on here. And it's going to make this into a giant size, I don't know, 8 or 10 person table. The woodwork is all satin finish, which is fine, easy to maintain. I am noticing up around port lights and so forth, these almost seem newish, but I don't think they are. but there's no drips, there's no leaks, there's no stains in the wood. Do you see any?
No.
No.
Just a little bit, just from like leaving them open once in a while.
Well, that could be, yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, the overhead is very tight in here, the whole length of boat. Sometimes we see these boats that have not been loved 24/7, where sometimes the overhead has some issues. And you notice the zippers in there too. We like the zippers. Why do we like zippers in the overhead?
Yeah, just take them down, clean it out.
And maybe put something on deck like a winch.
Oh
Yeah, right. We've got our nav station here. Not my favorite direction. I like to be navigating going the direction that we're going. So this faces aft. It does utilize part of the settee, which is fine, except you may find you're sitting on the feet of somebody sleeping there. So that can be a problem. But otherwise, it's quite comfortable. It's nice eye level to do your work. All your circuit breakers are lined right up. And, oh, look, there's an old charge locator where you can just push that to test the battery. All your switches, everything's right here for you. Pretty well lined up and convenient. There's kind of a older VHF here and a handheld GPS at top. Let's see how he does on the nav tables. Well, it's pretty good.
It's better than expected.
They provide owner's manuals for these new boats that tell you how to tighten your through-hull fittings. I mean, they're really pretty exhaustive. How to clean the boat, how to varnish things. Certainly an adequate table. Let's take a look at the galley. What do you say? It's right next door?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. L-shaped galley. The locker space is open, and this guy is old school. Big storage lockers here. A lot of food. Got white beans and all sorts of stuff. We've got more space even back here. Now here's the ice chest. And that's engine driven, I guess, I believe, the holding plates. And it's got a little bit of something to drink down there. There's two nice deep sinks here. He's got a freshwater pump and a saltwater pump. All the pedals are down here for you to handle all those. So saltwater, freshwater, and storage underneath. And there's a nice, I can barely lift this, but there's a 1, 2, 3 burner stove with oven, propane, and that has been used sometime. Whoa, that's interesting. I've never seen that. A little push button. Okay, we're back in the owner's double here. And this is pretty comfortable, actually. You've got an opening port all the way aft. You've got another opening port over this side of the berth. And there's an electric fan here. And some storage area on top. And this is going to be his hanging locker on this side, which is, I'm not going to open the screwdriver.
Oh, that's a Hinckley latch.
There's more storage bin down there. There's a lot of dampness down here on the cabin sole that begs a question, what's going on? And so I think the owner and the surveyor are going to want to take a hard look at that. I like the space back here. You can be pretty comfortable in here, don't you think?
Are you going to try it out?
Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to, because this
moisture?
floor,
Yeah.
I don't want to drag moisture onto this, because this is nice and dry and clean.
Is it?
All the fabric on the boat is nice and clean and dry.
Yep.
And in good shape. There's lots of things on this boat that need to be touched up, worked on, repaired, but they're not massive, and the boat itself is not so big that the things that need to be repaired are not huge. You know, it's not like great big bulky things that are expensive that you have to replace.
Yeah. Speaking of that, there's
Yes.
a big bulky thing here.
Oh, well, we have an engine in here. So we pulled out the engine cover here, which was a little tricky, but your engine is all right here. And if you need to get to more of it, I believe you can get down underneath the king-size berth in the master room. It's got a fresh belt on it. I have a feeling this runs, but it's just been subject to the cold and the wet and sweating here. And the boat was not covered, so she's been subject to rain, leakage, anything that's gotten into it. Just the fact that this belt looks new and tight gives me a sort of a slightly warm feeling about it.
If you bought this boat, what's the first thing you do?
You know, I love steam blasting, so to speak, or water blasting. Disconnect the batteries first of all, spray the heck out of it with a degreaser, and really try to clean it up. Maybe even a regular water hose to help blow off the degreaser, right? Dry it all off, hook it back up, and push the button. What they found they were doing about this time too was, along with putting the master stateroom aft in its own little corner, They brought the head aft too, instead of running thwart ships or even just in a tiny corner forward. They made it bigger and brought it into the starboard quarter here. Now look at the size of that head there. That's pretty big, isn't it? And look at the size of the shower stall.
Oh, yeah.
For sitting room, hanging your foul weather gear. Now look at the head.
Oh, I got a nice big lever.
It's 4.5 though.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of kitty corner. Like
well, that's good. I like that.
That's like the
that's
Choi Lee.
And there's a shower in there with a shower sump, we know, because we saw the sump pump.
Yep.
And it's got ventilation. Hey, let's move on through the saloon. We've been up here. Pretty nice. I'm walking uphill for some reason. Why are we walking uphill?
That's a bad sign.
Do you mean we're sinking?
What are you thinking about?
Now, if you want to sail on an Ericson boat, there's one thing you have to have. A tip of the hat to the Bruce King and the designers of these boats. It's pretty spacious, and I've got a lot of headroom in it. You notice how much headroom I have in here?
Yeah, pretty good.
Here's a seat, as you can tell, but the seat is cocked so that you can be wedged in there one way, but there are fiddles here to pick up to add another. It's like the V-berth filler. And this is a side filler. And we can get the buttocks in there with the sails in my way.
One cheek or two?
Actually, just 1.5 cheek. And somehow, I just settled down. We have an air conditioning control on here. So now I don't know how that's set up or how that works, but there appears to be air conditioning on the boat. Some nice big bumpers that come with it. And here's your hanging locker here, right here.
And those fenders.
I think, there they go. And again, just storage for life jackets right now. And down here is your documentation number. I'm not going to hop into this boat right now.
You know what? We're not going to make it this time.
I think we've pretty much done this.
Yeah.
All it is, really, if you're sitting and you look at this boat and it was all stripped out, you've got a bunch of wood and some fiberglass. And it's all glued together.
Yep.
With a little cloth thrown over it in some places. And that gives you the ability to get down to the bones and do a nice job about repairing it. The reason I was so excited about this boat was that I've been watching Christian Williams sail his Ericson 38 2 times to Hawaii and back all by himself. And it occurred to me at the time that 38 feet is a nice package to be able to sail single-handedly. We're delighted to see it. We did note a few things that need to be tidied up on the boat, but we think you'll like it. Bruce King design are never a bad choice. So I'm going to give her a 10 because she floats.
All right.
And I'm going to give her another 8 because it's the new design. You have a learning manual that comes on YouTube video with Christian Williams sailing her. So that gets another 5. 23, there she goes.
And Christian Williams is really worth checking out. If you haven't seen it, it's just, it's very entertaining. It's just really fun to watch.
He is fun to watch.
clever.
One thing about Christian we must say is that we've noticed that he too is a fan of
The old DM.
Denny Moore. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when the next one comes out, please hit the alert bell. And that's not desperate at all. Randy, how would I ever find out what's coming up next?
You can follow us on Instagram here
Yeah.
or Facebook here. We'll have little previews of what's coming up on our next episodes a little bit early.
That's pretty cool. Previews. You all join me. I'm going to Instagram right now, and I'm going to find out what's coming up next week. Thank you very much.
You know, Instagram's not a place.